Hi, I'm Jovi Inja Minerva, second year criminology student in Satwi College of Technology, and in today's video, I'm going to discuss the two topics indicate the two focal points of fingerprint, which is the delta and the core. Delta, the point of the ridge at or the front of and nearest the center of the divergence of the type lines, while the core, the approximate center of the loop and the wall pattern. So, si delta, based on this definition, ridge at or in na makikita natin at the nearest center. So, in order to locate the delta, first we need to identify kung asa dapit ang type line in order para makita nato ang delta. Based on the picture that you have seen in the screen, ang gitudlo sa arrow, that's the delta. And then, and you can see the parallel, nagpalibot sa delta, it called type lines. So, the core, makita nato na sa center. Either it is a loop or wall pattern. So, delta muna tayo. So, ang delta, pwede siya bifurcation, the ending ridge, dot, short ridge, recurving ridge, and meeting of two ridges o converging ridge. And again, this area to be considered is at or directly in front of the point of divergence of the two type lines. So ang kaning unom kabok only sila ra gyud ang pwede mahimong delta. So let's proceed in the rules in choosing delta. So the first one, delta must be the first ridge or part of the ridge nearest to the point of divergence of the two type lines. So si X and Y is considered to be a type lines. And X and A and X and Y and Z is not, because si X and Y very center of the divergence, very center. They can parallel and they diverge. So, di ba? Si delta is makikita nato na sa point of the divergence, either or nearest point of the divergence. So, in the example, as you can see, delta, the dot is a delta. So, if wala si dot, kung wala si dot ha, pwede si B o si C mahimong delta. Kung wala gyapon si B o C, pwede siya si D. Oo, pwede si D, mupuli. So, if na sila tulo, ang piliun yun nato si dot. Kasi, the nearest points of the divergence of the two type lines. So, number 2 rules, delta may not be located at bifurcation, which does not open towards the core. So, pasabot ani, ang delta, ang bifurcation yun ay open, nakabuka towards the core. Not in the example, in the letter E. Wala siya nagatubang. So, pasabot, si D, nagatubang sa core, it's the delta. Oo. In the rule number 3, when there is a choice between a bifurcation and another type of delta, the bifurcation is selected. So, ang pasabot ari, si bifurcation yun ang atong unang pilion towards another delta. Even though, napa si dot, napa si ending ridge, o napay uban pa. So, if ang bifurcation nagtagilid or nagtalikod towards the core, dili na to napilion kay ang atong pilion si dot kung naman. Kasi, ang importante magyud nag-atubang sa core. So, remember, bifurcation is the first one to choose towards another delta. In the rule number 4, when there are two or more possible bifurcation deltas that conform to the definition, the one nearest to the core should be chosen. So, pasabot ane, series of bifurcation or two or more. So, ang atong pilion yun ang una kay nearest to the core. Based on the example, as you can see in the screen, ang D atong pilion, not the X, not the another letter. In the rule number 5, the delta may not be located in the middle of the ridge, running between the type lines toward the core, but the nearer end only. So, kung meron lang tayong na ending ridge o short ridge, point of the divergence, dapat yung ridge na yon ay same sa type line, which is as you can see in the example, naka-straight lang siya. So, in the general rule, that the atong pilion yun kay dili sa center, nara sa sa tumoy sa taas or tumoy sa ubos. So, the rules: if the ridge is entirely within the pattern area, the delta is located at the end near the point of divergence of the type lines. So, 'di ba kung ang ridge nasa sulod sa pattern area, ang delta gyud atong pilion kay tumoy duol sa divergence, dili tumoy duol sa core. So, dito na tayo sa core. Roles in the choosing core. Again, si core is one of the two focal point na hinahanap natin sa ating fingerprint pattern. It's specific sa loop and the whole pattern. So, si core ang center sa ating fingerprint pattern within the innermost sufficient recurve. In the rule number 1, the core is placed upon shoulder or within the innermost sufficient recurve. So, it's in upon or shoulder sa ating loop or recurving ridge sa ating recurve. And also, or within sa loob ng ating innermost sufficient recurve pag meron siyang rod. Basta sing taas sa shoulder of the loop. In the rule number 2, when the innermost sufficient recurve contains no ending ridge or rod rising as high as the shoulder of the loop, the core is placed the shoulder of the loop farther from the delta. In the rule number 3, when the innermost sufficient recurve contains an even number of the rods rising as high as the shoulder, the core is placed upon the end of the farther one of the two center rods, the two center rods being treated as though they were connected by the recurving ridge. In the rule number 4, when the innermost sufficient recurve contains an even number of the rods rising as high as the shoulders, the core is placed upon the end of the center rod whether it touches the looping ridge or not. In the rule number 5, the rod must rise as high as the shoulder line.